Hello, Cathy. Thank you so much for giving your time to this project, Ordinary Stories. I wondered if you could start by telling us just a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm retired. I've worked at Emmanuel for 21 years, which was a huge privilege. But now the time is with family. So it's split between looking after elderly relatives. My father's 100, and mom and in-laws are all 90s and needing a fair amount of care. But I've also got sons and grandchildren, so
Yes.
it's a sort of family time in a way that I wasn't able to do when I was working.
That's wonderful. 100. Wow.
complete with the card from the king and queen. Yes.
So let's turn our attention then to just thinking about God and just what God means to you and what difference God has made in your life.
Yeah, where do you begin? I mean, in one sense, he's so much a part of me that I'm almost not aware, because he's just there in terms of when you're doing things, you know, he's there, or you're walking along and suddenly, I came driving down today and there was a red kite flying just over the road, so I had to keep my eye on the road, but it's little glimpses, and he's saying, yeah, I'm here, but also it's that sense of excitement, opening the Bible each morning and just, what's he going to say? What's he going to say?
Yes.
And sometimes when you're tired, there's nothing and you just go through the motions, and that's fine. But when the need's there, when things are tough, and they can be really tough sometimes, just aware that the words, whether it be Bible or the liturgies, I like to mix things up a bit. So the daily readings, it might be the soothing morning prayer, or Northumbrian community, because it's a bit more Celtic. Or
Yes.
I've got a lovely little book called the Little Book of Hours that has morning, midday and evening prayers, and though it's quite short, and when I'm feeling really dry, that's just what I need, with a very short reflection, and I can just about hold on to that. But God's there in
Yeah.
you know, just in all the different bits of what I do. Yeah.
So, Cathy, I wonder, the red kite moment has struck a chord with me, and for many people it's a bird, and you just keep doing what you do in your daily life. I was just wondering if you could share with us a little bit about how you've practiced becoming more aware and sort of listening to God in your life.
Yes. My background in terms of faith was very much an emphasis on the Bible and sort of head knowledge. And I had the privilege of, at one particular point feeling really, really dry, and I was put in touch with a spiritual director, and when I met with her, she said, Cathy, you need to slow down. And she said, I want you to go through John's Gospel. Okay. And just take your time with it, and when you need to move on from a verse or a chapter, then you do. And it took me a year to go through John's Gospel. And in that is that sense of waiting and savouring, because it talks sometimes about chewing on the word, and that's that sort of meditating, and that you can read something and okay, you can understand it in one level, but just letting it sink in is really important. I found also memorising verses, I try and memorise some of the songs, and you get the rhythms and you get the patterns in a way that just reading them, that it doesn't click in the same way.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted, there was something else you said that it would be nice to think about a little bit more, and you acknowledge in, you've clearly lived a life knowing God, and you also acknowledge that there are dry times.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could share. You've begun to share already. What do you do in those dry times? You don't just stop.
Yes.
What do you do when there's nothing, or it feels like
yes,
there's nothing?
I think that's really, really important, because it's not always you're on top form, and it depends what the dry times are for. The dry times can be because you're just not really spending time. You can go through the motions, but you're not spending time to wait, to really listen. So prayer isn't about just talking to God, it's about listening and waiting on Him. And so that, I see it a bit like when you walk in a desert. If you've got lots of bottles of water, you can take sips and then it runs out. But if you haven't taken time to go to the oasis and really draw water from the well, you're going to run out of water. And so it's kind of recognising and then coming back to God and saying, oh Lord. But there are other times when it's actually just tiredness because of the stress of life. And you say, yeah, I'd love to have time, but it's all right. And I, as a mom, and at other times, I used to get so cross with people saying they've got all these lovely quiet times. If only. So I think it's recognising that we don't always have that, but then friends and support comes in. So 7 years ago, my husband was really ill with cancer, and there were times I just couldn't pray. I could go through motions, but it just wasn't connecting with God. But I knew I was being carried. I got fantastic prayer triplets, and so I could, the worst things, I could let them know about things to pray for that I couldn't yet let my family know because they were too emotionally involved. So that's really important. Having a spiritual director for me being really important, because it's an accountability and they can help you to go deeper in a way that I certainly wouldn't have done otherwise. But being part of a community as well. So I was part of what's now Theta, and then I'm in Gamma now, Beta now. And again, really strong support. So saying, hey, I'm a bit tired, this is family issues or whatever. And immediately you get that response of, yes, people praying. And it's so you don't have to carry it yourself. So I think it's recognising that we can't do it alone. Yes. But that if we look, God's provided a support network for us.
That's wonderful. So to finish then, I ask all the interviewees, what verse currently are you holding dear to you, or a word of encouragement? Could you share something of that?
There are so many verses, and when I'm stuck in the middle of the night, try and think which verses come to the fore. But I'm going through the Psalms again at the moment, and I'm going through in the Message version. And yesterday was Psalms 13, which can look a bit down. It's one of the laments, and the psalmist is having a really tough time. And then just near the end, there's a complete turnabout, and the psalmist says, "I've thrown myself headlong into your arms." And I just love that sense of it's total abandonment on God. That's the I think that's the perfect kind of relationship. It's not about sort of intellectual things. It's not about head knowledge. It's about just as a child, the total trust that say, you've got me.
Yes.
So
amen to that. Amen to that. Well, thank you so much, Cathy.
You're welcome.